So here we go. Whew. I have been asked to do this video as part of National Eating Disorders Awareness Week, and I'm pretty nervous doing it because it's not something that I've been able to talk about for a very, very long time, mainly because of the stigma around it, the fact that I thought I was hiding it really quite well when actually I wasn't, so the people close to me say. And I just want to share my own experiences. I'm only just going into recovery after a second relapse, the worst relapse I've ever had actually. I went down to 6 stone. I'm now nearly back to a healthy weight. How that sits in my head is very hard. It's very difficult, and I hope with every bit of me that I have the fight to not go back into relapse from coming this far. Now, National Eating Disorders Awareness Week, it's this week till the 27th, 28th, if you really want to extend it that far. And it is basically getting people to talk and to open up about eating disorders, men, women, adults, children, anyone, to try and get rid of the stigma attached to it. Now, I am just one of 750,000 people in the UK that are diagnosed with an eating disorder. It's crazy. That's anorexia, bulimia, binge eating disorder, EDNOS, which is eating disorder not otherwise specified, which people are put into the category if maybe their BMI doesn't sit below a certain point that is in the NIC guidelines. My story goes that I began having an eating disorder when I was 8 years old. I was a dancer and I had to stop dancing because I had displaced kneecaps. At that time I was going into the puppy fat stage, I suppose, of growing up, and throughout my childhood years I had nothing to control. There was no control of my life because I wasn't able to walk, I wasn't able to do what I loved, which was dancing, I wasn't able to express myself, so the only way of controlling anything was by controlling my food and my intake. Now, it was really hard because we were brought up from a very strict family, so we had meal times as a family, and so the only other way I could do it was when I was at school or not around the dinner table in the evening. It got gradually worse and worse and worse. When I was 16, I think I went into CAMS, which is the Care for Young People services, with their eating disorder and the dietitian specialist, and they basically gave up with me because I knew what I was doing but didn't want to change anything. Basically, I was a stubborn child, and I knew that it was just getting worse and worse and worse. I was with my first boyfriend at the time, who was incredible. It broke us apart. It was too much. At 16, you don't want that. And by the time I got to 18, I figured that the only other thing that kept me going was acting or performing and being on stage, like dancing, but still being able to do it from my wheelchair or from crutches or through some form of, I don't know, some energy that I had that would carry me onto the stage and it'd be fine. So at 17, I found out that I was getting into the National Youth Theatre, and they helped me kickstart my acting career and my want at 18 to move to London and go and do a degree. It was the best thing that I ever did because it distracted me. It distracted me from the eating disorder brain, the thing that had been holding me back for so long and been the only thing in my life that had made me depressed and made me so down and made me unable to talk to people. And I was finally able to be someone else, do something that I loved without any restraints or any constraints or anyone looking over me or anyone worrying about me or anything. But it was really hard because I realised that the only way I could do that was by eating. Luckily, by some miracle, I got myself in gear, got myself to a healthy weight and maintained. It was bloody hard. It was bloody hard. There were times that I would relapse and not know how I was going to get back out of it. Restricting beyond belief, returning to alcohol so that I could just eat and be comfortable enough to eat, which has been one of my biggest struggles for quite a while, even after I graduated. And then it was all going really well, and then I got diagnosed with endometriosis, which is a condition that you have where the lining of your womb sticks to inside of your organs. It's quite horrendous, and it's not really linked to this video as such because this is not about that. But that developed for me into endometrial ovarian cancer. Now, I had my first round of chemo and I didn't tell my mum and dad about them because I didn't want to worry them, and my body luckily was at a point where it was strong enough to carry on. However, because I wasn't able to be acting, that made my eating disorder head go straight back into relapse. And I remember there were times that I was tripped up and I was doing exercises in the toilets and deliberately not eating because it was an excuse to lose more weight. And I remember the doctors being baffled at the fact that when I was on chemo, it was meant to bulk me out and it was meant to like give me water retention and things like that, and it didn't. It made me lose weight, which was because I didn't tell them about my eating disorder. Anyway, I got myself back to a healthy weight and carried on, and then my endometrial cancer came back, which meant that I had to go back into round 2 of chemo. Now, at this point, I wasn't strong enough to carry on with the treatment. I did it and I completed the treatment, but I had to move back home with my mum and dad and my brother and my sister and my other brother around me. And it's been now probably a year now since I relapsed, and I've been in recovery with therapy for coming on to just over a year now. I am now thankfully back to a healthy weight again, which is great. Mentally and with my eating disorder brain, not so, but I know physically I'm not getting half as many bad symptoms, I'm not blacking out, things like that. But Eating Disorders Awareness Week is about talking and telling people and speaking out and not being ashamed, not being afraid, not thinking you are alone, because you're not. I am one of 750,000 people. That means that if you're watching this and you've got something similar, then you are as well. The National Eating Disorder Awareness Charity has a screening going on at the minute where you can go on, it takes 2 minutes to fill out. You have a look at where you are on the scale, I suppose is the wrong word, but on the spectrum, as it were. And if you fall into any of the categories that you need to get help, then you get help. Speak. Tell someone, whether it be a friend, a family member. Pick up the phone and ring Beat. If you're in the East Midlands or the Derbyshire area, pick up the phone and speak to First Steps, who are my absolute heroes. There's free beaches in this area as well. Just there are people out there, so speak, because all the links you'll see below. I've got my blog link there, which has helplines in it. There's also the Beats helpline, First Steps helpline, the National Eating Disorders Association helpline, because it's not the end. And don't let yourself spiral into relapse if you've had it before. Don't let yourself go into this sickening stage where you can't get out. Your head can't make sense of things because your body is physically so weak that you haven't got the strength to do it. Speak, because there is hope. I can promise you, I am just entering recovery again, and it's really bloody hard, but I am not where I was. And I have got friends who have said when they've come out the other side, yeah, you can have anorexia back. You can have it back in, when you've maintained your weight for a year, but you won't want it. And it is so true, because once you've been there at the lowest, you don't want to go back. And so I beg you, I plead you with every single bit of my northern little heart, speak, get talking, listen and understand.